Good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in this wonderful world. Welcome to another episode of the Soften System Side to Sales, where myself, my good friend Jason, spend a lot of time talking and sharing all our insights, our nuggets, our knowledge over the years of how you can really optimize your sales process, your customer journey experiences by making sure that all your touch points, the human side things, complement the process to get and drive really strong performance, right? So welcome, Jason. And today we're going to talk about, and we're going to go into deeper conversation about the lean and how it helps sales teams exceed their expectations. Hello and welcome back, and welcome, Jason. And today we're going to do a deep dive into lean. We started this conversation last week and we talked about it overall, but now we're going to get a bit more specific on the sales funnel side of things. So tell me, Jason, in your
Before we
opinion,
get into that, Shay, for our American friends and colleagues out there, happy Thanksgiving. And I think that's really good because most of America is off at the moment for their 2-day celebration.
That's correct.
Which is almost like Christmas. Yeah. So it's Thanksgiving.
Their big celebration. So to all our American friends, we hope you have an amazing Thanksgiving and celebrations with your family. And obviously Thanksgiving comes with it that sense of gratitude. So what are you grateful for? What do you give thanks for, Jason?
Give thanks to making a difference with other people, but I'm also thankful for where I am at the moment and health wise and all that. I'm thankful for that, but I'm also thankful for how I can help and impact others to get where they need to go and make a behavioral change in them so they can go out and be successful in what they do, bring in more revenue and help more customers. But it's also about giving value forward and the value and how to get out of your own head and be empathetic with other people. So you can really sit in there and position yourself where the buyer might be in their best places. But today we're talking about lean processes in sales. And I know you're an expert in this area because you're a black belt. Is that right?
Master black belt.
Sorry, I do apologize. Master black belt.
Yeah. No, look, Jason, like what I love about these skills, they're applicable to anything. They can be applied to any process. It's about taking things apart, how they're done today, and then putting them back together again. Yeah. And we always talk about doing things better, then do better things. And it's all driven by value from the customer's perspective. So it's perfectly suited for sales. It's because you're dealing with customers, you're servicing customers, you're solving problems for customers. Lean teaches you the value of that, the value from the customer's perspective, and how to do it as effectively as possible. So it's a perfect complement to already high-performing teams.
Yeah, high-performing teams is one of those big areas. There's a lot of pressure on all of these teams at the moment. So I know because I've been working with them. Huge amounts of pressure, especially because of job insecurity. And I think you have to really delve back and step away from the business a bit so you can actually start to look at how you can improve on what you do. And I think that's all with the senior management team, that you have to step away from the day-to-day running, because what actually happens, you're in a bubble. When you're working in the business, sometimes it's very difficult to step outside of the business and think strategically, because you're in it so much and you have all the problems in your head. You can't be in solution mode when you're dealing with day-to-day stuff. You're dealing with salespeople, and the salespeople are stressed and they're under pressure themselves to hit the numbers. So I think sometimes it's worth, and as we know, it's worth taking a step out and looking at maybe strategizing how we can improve the process, because we know traditional methods great and wonderful, but let's look at a different way of doing things. And I think lean is a really good, clever approach, one of many approaches that we can use. But I think the lean way of doing things is really good. I love how you can just pull things apart and get people to think on a different way of how to improve a process, and especially into the selling process, even from the start of it. Obviously, we have to do everything that we can to increase the customer face time or phone time or whatever it might be. So let's look at that particular starting point of the process.
Yeah, no, Jason, and like I'll tell you now, I know this sounds silly, but everything starts at the start. Like, and I mean that in the way the good stuff starts at the start, or the bad stuff starts at the start. And when that bad stuff happens at the start, it's like the small snowball at the top of the hill. And when it rolls down, that snowball gets bigger and bigger. And all of a sudden, one small issue at the start is 10 issues down the funnel when you go downstream, right? That is the problem. So anytime I do these waste analysis on the current state or the current process that's there today, when we do the waste analysis, you'll always see, when I do it on the wall using Post-its, all the Post-its of waste are at the very start.
So let's talk about that for a minute, because I think that's a really important part of, let's share some golden nuggets here with the audience here. Getting lots of Post-it notes together and hand them out to the teams is really important to get them to write their ideas out. And big whiteboards. Some of the other businesses have complete walls full of, and to get people invested into a process, get everyone involved in this.
Yeah, no, it is, Jason. You're absolutely right about everyone. This is a team. This is not me just saying this is what happens. No, they all contribute. And I always get people from outside the sales team to join in as well, because they'll ask the questions no one else will, because they're a bit removed from the process. But the whole point of this, Jason, is number one, once we build that for current state process, right, then we do the issue and waste and what's working well, what's not, what do we need to change. And the change starts happening immediately because people start helping each other. It's amazing, Jason, to see this happen. And then once you do that waste analysis and everybody's happy with it, then you start doing solution design, right? And when you do solution design, obviously you're going to manipulate the steps in the process in some way. But Jason, then you're going to put a few other filters or lenses on it as well. How do we measure success all the way through? How do we ensure if something didn't go to the next stage with a client, why did it not go? What do we need to do differently? What feedback can we get that we can keep using all the way back to the start to make sure we're only getting leads that we believe have a good opportunity to turn into hot leads that then can turn into meetings, turn into proposals, and turn into orders? Because the last thing you want, Jason, when I look at all this, I always start off when I map it out, I call it the bloated funnel. It's bloated, too much work, very little reward. Okay. So my goal is to change that. More effort that leads to reward, less effort that doesn't. So you're manipulating the activities along that journey. And that sometimes you can add a step in, but only if you believe it can add value to get those conversions. So it's the mini conversions at every micro step. So Jason, to your point about the Post-its, I get them, go across that big wall, one micro step. How do you generate leads? Put all the 10 different avenues or channels you do to that. Then you do a channel, like what's next on that channel? What's next? It's a long process, Jason. But I'll tell you, you spend 3 hours doing this with a team, the amount of knowledge you've just put in one place that everyone knows now, when before it was just in one brain, siloed over there. Now that is a communal bubble, not just like 10 or 20 bubbles, Jason. And that's the big eureka moment, is shared knowledge. And when you have that shared knowledge, then you can start working together to make it better.
I've tried this process, and it's something that I learned from you a few years back, is to do it and test it. And it's just amazing that the different style of results that you do get out of it. And I think it's focusing on what you can control within the circumstance, because there's other things in there you just cannot control. Like you cannot control the economic climate. So that's that. Look, defocusing on that, and then just have a look at the customers and best-selling customers that you can work with and maybe work with better, maybe get some feedback and some ideas from them. I think even if we get our customer service reps to get involved in the process as you suggest we would do, because they've been speaking to these customers all the time, they've got a wealth of knowledge there to put into that process, and just educate us sales guys. Go, well, they suggested that and they suggested that, and I think that should be put into that funnel of ideas as well, of what good would look like and how we can just get rid of the stuff, because we know there's a similarity, so we can model success in there. And success for the team and the organization is absolutely key for us to learn and grow. And let's model that all the way through. So success on that part of the funnel is incredibly good for us to go navigate through the rest of it.
Yeah. And that's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's it, Jason. You create these process control points, right?
Yeah.
You measure not the end conversion, Jason, right? Which is, you do measure, right? But it's not the only measure. You measure the mini conversions. Well, what did I do right to get me to the next step in the funnel?
Yeah.
And what did I didn't do right? What do I need to change the next time so I'll get more right the next time, improve my potential of success, right? And the whole point when you work on those mini conversions, Jason, so these are the driving metrics will lead to the conversions for a sale, right? That's one to measure. That's not one you influence at the end. You influence those mini conversions to lead to that conversion. And then when you get the sale, Jason, you know yourself, you don't stop there. You build, well, how do I upsell? How do I cross sell? And you don't do it by trying to sell. You do it by solving their problems, becoming their partner, and creating that experience so they'll just want to do more business and give you more business because you're helping them. You're their partner in whatever pain relief. So this is the whole mechanisms. You start, and then Jason, as you said, you called it out there a few minutes ago, when you said you trial it, you build that new process. It may not be right, okay? Because you're trying to think what we believe will work in the future. You may not get it. You could be 80%, 90% right. But the whole point, it's not about getting it right, Jason. It's about getting it started. Now you have a process that you can measure what's working, what's not. What do we do on a weekly, monthly basis to keep iterating and changing it so you get closer to your target? So
I was going to suggest that this process is continuous.
yeah.
Like you might do the 3-hour workshop and go, lads, we're going to do this for this week and see how well we work. Next week, we're going to come back and the post-its are still up there. So let's look at the what we've done that week. Let's look at the feedback that we get from everyone, and even the no's that we get. What happened specifically in those no's? What questions did we say? That's why technology, recording technology like Gong and various other things out there, which is really helpful when we record conversations, because what the technology does, it picks up your language and it picks up your customer's language and how you approach the sale. So you can review all of what's being said by picking up the phrases and the frames that people have said, both sides. And then you can analyze, go, well, we've done that. Wow, what can we do next time to improve? We've learned that, we've heard ourselves. The technology is telling us some good things now. That's why technology can be used in a good way in some instances, not all the time, but in this, especially in this lean process, if you have the technology there to test it. So first way is to do the 3-hour process and then review it. And then if you have the technology enabled, you can really make a massive impact.
You can, Jason. That's a really good call out, because the whole point of lean is how can you do it better next time? Yeah. What can I tweak? What dials can I turn just to make it a little bit better? And Jason, you don't look for the big wins. If they're there, fantastic, right? but you look for the small gains, a little there, a little there, a little there.
Yeah.
They compound over time,
Yeah.
right? You make 5 improvements, you make a 5% improvement in 5 areas. That's compounding, Jason.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the whole point. Lean looks at all those little things that it can turn the dial little by little in different areas. And another great example to complement what you said, when you have a meeting with a client, if they liked what you're talking about, what are the key things? What information can you take from that conversation to share with your colleague and say, this is what these clients are liking to hear about whatever way we're selling, what message we're giving. These are the things they're liking. This is the feedback we're getting. Therefore, everybody should be doing the same thing, right? Number one. But on the other side, on the inverse side, Jason, if we don't get to sale, what information can I take away and put into a database and say, this is the reasons why this customer didn't choose us, right? And then over the course of a month, if you did this for every meeting that you have with a client, for every day, every meeting, for every day, for every week of the month, you're going to have great data to say, what are the top 3 things why customers didn't buy from us? What are the top 3 reasons why they did? Let's do more of that. Let's change that and make it easier. And that's, to your point, Jason, lean is a continuous process. You don't just do it once and say goodbye. It's iterative. You keep evolving. It's cyclical all the time. And then you exhaust all the things that you can do better, Jason. That's why I said at the start, then you look to disrupt your process. You do better things. How can we make it faster, better, quicker?
Thing that I was going to suggest there, it does show the gaps as well. So when we have that and things are not working out as well, and we're looking at the process, we need to improve that, we need to improve that. And we give ourselves feedback to give ourselves feed forward. But what it does do there, it allows us to bring a training enabler to actually sort that part of the process out. Meaning, rather than getting a trainer in as a complete going, well, we're going to go over everything and we're going to teach you blah, 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 old sort of methodologies and all that. Now you really understand where the training actually needs to happen. So whether it is a 2-hour workshop on listening skills, or whether it is a 3-hour workshop on overcoming the objection, but you're just going into that part of it and just going, well, this is where we need to work on. So let's either work on it internally, or we do objection handling here, or we do listening skills, or whatever it might be that we need to improve on. And then let's go back into the process afterwards and review how we got on.
And that's it, Jason. You focus on one thing at a time. You don't try and solve the world problems in one foul swoop. That's impossible. When you see that big issue, as you said, if it's a type of sales objection, figure out what it is, know what it is, and then build your strategy to overcome, train everybody, test it. It may need to be tweaked a little. And then when it's tweaked, again, you keep evolving it. And that's how I built, Jason, my first ever sales process. And I told you this story many times, where when I started on my first day in my first business and I was to do sales, I literally looked at the computer and went, what the hell do I do now? I hadn't got a clue. I'd never done sales. All I had was my lean, my process skills. And I literally built that process. Literally, I can still see it in my head. I've got about 20 steps in my funnel, Jason, right? And every time, like when I started cold calling, so that was real fun, right? Learning how to cold call. But again, just by making lots of mistakes, and I did make lots of mistakes. I made a fool of myself many times, Jason.
Yeah, and we all do.
And then eventually, over the course of maybe just a few weeks, Jason, I had a 20-second script that worked, right? So then I was getting meetings, right? And then when I was getting meetings, I was getting blocked there. So I had to keep thinking, how can I make this better? And going back to the lean, Jason, lean is all about value. It's not about shortcuts or cutting corners, as some people think it is. It's about value. How can you deliver value from the customer's perspective? So I started to ask myself a question. How can I deliver value before the sale? And I was dealing with architects and engineers. So I said I was renewable energy. So that impacted my cold call script, because I kept saying then that I'm here to offer you a free complimentary CPD session, all things architects need to know about renewable energy when they're designing their solutions. And I was getting 70% plus conversions on that meeting, Jason. Went from 20% to 70%. And then from that meeting, I was getting to talk to multiple stakeholders, not just one, right? Multiple architects. And that's how I literally, and then once I built it for myself, Jason, then I brought in 2 salespeople to teach them how to do what I did and then replicate what I did. And it worked, Jason. And again, and what I always say is this is not about taking away the flair from the person and the magic really good salespeople have. This is just complementing it.
Yeah.
Follow a process and bring your absolute best, the stuff that you talk about, Jason, to make sure when you have the process and the touch points, the sales touch points, when you have the 2 of them together, nothing can stop you.
What I was going to say and what I'm thinking of is it building up confidence levels.
Totally.
You're streamlining the process down, and you've said it exactly. I felt comfortable once I review what I've done and I give myself feedback, and then I test it again. I will get a few knockbacks here and there, but then I test it again. But as the process goes on, I feel more in line with saying and looking at the right words and building my confidence up, because the more confident you get, and it is, the better that you're going to make an impact on them. So if you have everything in line and that process done, but you've learned it from scratch, you know that it's going to come automatic after a period of time. Like you write your script, you learn it, you memorize it, and go, well, I need to shorten that, or I need to, how can I make that bang statement in with that client that resonates with them? So it goes into their head straight away and go, oh, let me find out some more about what you do.
Absolutely, Jason. And that's it. Repetition, practice, practice, develop, practice, or develop and tweak, right?
Yep.
So, Jason, we're coming up in our time as always. These sessions go so fast. So, sum it up in one, Jason. What's the one thing that you, from this conversation, that you believe our listeners should take away with us today?
Confidence and competence to learn from what hadn't worked and bring it forward and practice. I know there's more as usual, but I think you have to keep on nailing it and just keep reviewing it.
Yeah, brilliant. And my one point, Jason, is to focus on the mini conversions at every step, because then the final conversion will look after itself. So look, thanks as always, Jason. It's been a pleasure as always. I hope our audience gets some value from that. And I know what I always like to say, Jason, is that if anyone wants to reach out, please do. We don't bite. We love to help, and we'd love to see can we help you in any way. So in the meantime, thanks for listening and have